Shasta College offers a complete college experience with a wide selection of classes, certificates, and degrees, affordable tuition, and financial aid. Dreams of a richer, more successful future realized at Shasta College.
I grew up watching shows like Sesame Street and Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, and I believe public education is a great tool. I love the Cookie Monster and Oscar the Grouch, and I believe it gave me a great foundation for my education. And now I enjoy shows like Antiques Roadshow and others. That's why I support the Big Education event.
Welcome to the KIXE-TV Big Education event. I'm your host, Jesse Angelo. And for the next half hour, I'll be your tour guide as we journey to 5 different very special classrooms in Northern California. We're going to meet some pretty inspiring teachers. Our first stop is Sequoia Middle School in Redding and the classroom of Mrs. Dina D'Armond. For special education teacher Dina D'Armond, the subjects taught in her classroom reach far beyond reading, writing, and arithmetic.
The students that we have the pleasure of serving function anywhere from kind of an infant level to through probably about a 48-month level. So our curriculum focuses on communication skills, social skills, life skills, and functional academics.
Everything that we are doing, we're trying to facilitate independence as much as possible for them, just keeping that in mind. So when they're having lunch, the goal isn't to eat lunch and to fill their bellies, although they do get that need met, but it's also feeding themselves, wiping their mouth, chewing with their mouth closed, swallowing before they put more food. It's just a lot of independent type so they can function out in the community. We serve a variety at different levels of students. Some students would be, their long-term goal would be to function independently, but on the scale of independence, it all varies.
Mrs. D'Armond's classroom lives on the campus of Sequoia Middle School, and a large part of her plan to teach independence is to integrate into the larger student body.
I think it's very important that they integrate into the with the other students as much as possible. It's very important they feel acceptance. They enjoy the reception they get when people are talking to them.
One of the fabulous things about having our special needs students included on general ed campuses is we want them to participate as much as possible because we are a community and we are part of the community. So this last June, we had our largest graduating class ever. And I was able to attend, and it was just, oh my gosh, brought tears to my eyes, the students coming across the stage, and it was really with Dina and her staff's hard work to prepare them, because our students, obviously they lack the communication skills and they lack some of the social behaviors that we'd like to see in junior high level students, but they participated and several of them were able to actually receive their certificate of completion. They're not getting diplomas of graduation, so it was awesome.
My goal for the students leaving my program would be that they can function on a comprehensive high school campus and fit in with the other students and as much as possible and participate and not, have the behaviors that would cause them to stand out so they fit in and to have a joyful experience on the high school campuses.
Mrs. D'Armond's class is part of the Great Partnership Program, which serves students with special needs at the Gateway, Enterprise, and Redding school districts. Great Partnership's Executive Director Tracy Ray is the one who nominated Mrs. D'Armond to be featured in the Big Education event.
She's worked in 2 different settings for us. She works with the children that are larger and can have more aggressive behavior. She's absolutely skilled. Her staff adores her. She's very calm, quiet, composed. She certainly is not a seeker of attention, but I'm so very pleased that we could recognize her hard work.
And while working with students with special needs can be hard work for Mrs. D'Armond, what keeps her coming back day after day is the chance to motivate her students.
All of the students I work with are absolutely amazing. They're awesome. They're warm, they're happy, they want to be here. When I find a way to motivate a student who maybe has not been reached or changed that behavior, just what we've all tried in the past wasn't working, and then all of a sudden, it's working and you found something, you hooked them. That's very motivating for me. It just really makes me want to come back and, work on the next behavior, and, we can do this. It's very rewarding. I'm fortunate to be able to work with some of the kids for 3-4 years at a time, so I can see the progress that they've made, as opposed to just knowing or believing that down the road they've accomplished things. I've actually witnessed that. So that's very motivating, keeps me coming back every day, just seeing the kids wanting to be here.
Mrs. D'Armond may feel like she's the fortunate one working with those students every day, but really they're the lucky ones who get to have her as a teacher. So are you ready to hit the road again? This time we're headed south to Cottonwood and the classroom of science teacher, Mr. Mitchell. Science teacher Dennis Mitchell has been directing students at Evergreen Middle School in Cottonwood to both look up at the stars and down at the lens of a microscope for 38 years.
Mr. Dennis Mitchell is an asset to the school. He is just a standout in all ways. He exemplifies what an educator should be. He's collaborative, he's inspiring, he's genuine, very well organized, differentiates, accepts all students that walk in the door, compassionate, is very thoughtful about his delivery, his demeanor. It's going to be a hard transition should he decide to retire.
Mr. Mitchell's influence can be seen and felt wherever you look on campus, especially if you're looking at a tree.
I believe it was December 26th, 1994, and we had a brand new school. And there was absolutely no plant life here. We had no trees, no shrubbery or anything. And at that time, Mr. Norris suggested that, I was teaching 8th grade science at the time, that he would support us with giving us a budget if I would have the kids, do competitions to come up with the way that they would landscape the new school. So we did that from, 1994 till about 2004. I came up with a project where kids would actually get a curriculum called Project Learning Tree, and they would be trained in that, and we'd go into classrooms and do teaching lessons with the kids, all kinds of different really cool projects. About 95% of the plants that are on this campus were planted by the students during that time period.
I think his power of influence isn't noted nearly enough. I mean, he really has influenced so many people on this campus, not only just students but staff members, and it's just in the conversations that he has and the things that he's willing to talk about, and he wants to always stay progressive.
One thing Mr. Mitchell has always tried to stay ahead of the curve on is technology in the classroom.
In the 38 years, I've seen a tremendous amount of change in technology. One of the first pieces of technology that I had was a moving blackboard. It was on wheels, and I remember when it was delivered to my classroom, I could wheel it around to any spot that I wanted. Later that evolved into the computer. One of the first teachers to have it, probably the first teacher to have a computer in this district. And I always had this great desire to have the ability to have a computer for every one of my students so that they could sit at their own desk, we could do projects, they could use the internet and do research. And this year, after 38 years, every one of my students has a computer they can sit at their table, access the internet, and it's just awesome. So lots of changes from using, having to clap the the chalkboard erasers to dry erase pens, overheads, to an LCD projector and a smart board for my classroom. It's just amazing.
Technology and curriculum may have changed over the last 38 years, but one thing that has remained constant is Mr. Mitchell's quiet and kind demeanor and his love for science and his students.
Dennis is a standout, I think, formally because he never raises his voice in class. You know, there's something about the kind of culture that he creates in his classroom, and in order for students to learn, a teacher has to have strong management. He never raises his voice. He is always touching every student in the classroom, and he equally does that with his colleagues.
I took the opportunity to move to 8th grade. It is different working with 8th graders because they are a different kind of creature. On any given day, you don't know what you're going to get, but it is so fulfilling to be able to do the kind of projects that we can do with them. They have a great sense of humor. Right now I'm with what we call tweenagers because they're in between being a teen and that stage. But I love it. It is where I plan on ending my career someday. Working with them, I can never go back. I think that they're just a lot of fun to be around. They're challenging. You really develop a relationship with them, and once you have that relationship, I think then it's pretty easy. Not real easy, but it is easier, that's for sure. And I love working with that age group.
Any questions?
Wow, 95% of the trees on campus were planted by Mr. Mitchell and his students. Talk about a lasting legacy. All right, so it's time for a U-turn back up to Reading to visit Mrs. Katina at Columbia Elementary School.
Every one of us has a brain. B-R-A-I-N.
Susie Skatina has been teaching at Columbia Elementary School for more than 25 years, but looking back, there was a time when her life almost went in a completely different direction.
Well, honestly, I was a student at Chico State University, and I was studying to be a graphic design artist, and getting ready to graduate, and had this aha moment that I didn't want to be in advertising. I really loved working with kids, and my older sister was a teacher. So she was my mentor, and so I think that sort of opened up that door for me. And then once I started volunteering at CAVE, which is in Chico, and working through the education major, I just loved it, and there's no turning back.
Not only did Mrs. Katina not turn back, but she jumped headfirst into campus life at Columbia.
Well, honestly, my children went through Columbia School from kindergarten all the way through. And as a mom, there were things I was wishing they had for the children to participate in. So I started drill team when my daughter was in 2nd grade. She's now at Chico State, and I've been doing it ever since with another teacher, Mrs. Mazulis. And so we do the parades twice a year. It's a lot of fun. And then I do the variety show, which is a talent show. Same thing. There was a need on campus, and I was passionate about performing. And then we do some student publishing on campus that I'm in charge of as well, and that's just to get the kids writing and publishing. I've done student council before, and that's also just enriches the kids' experience. And I always think, what type of program would I want for my children? And that's what I try to deliver to my students.
She's always doing something, all these extra curricular, the drill team and if she wasn't here, who would do it? I don't know. I've been here a long time, and I don't know who would do these things. I'm sure somebody would, and she enjoys it. She's never, I don't want to go, or she's never negative.
It was her joyful spirit and dedication to extracurricular activities that inspired the Student Council at Columbia to nominate her to be featured in our big education event. Her students praised her ability to inspire them to participate and do their best both at school and in their community.
So the kids all love her, like even the kids that are struggling, they're not really getting the concepts fast enough, and she has to work and work and work with them. They take everything just so positively. They just, I don't know, they all just love her. I've worked with lots of teachers. I've been here 13 years, and she assumes everybody's like this, but they're not. She cares about the whole person. Yeah, she knows if she knows there's something wrong, or there's a student now that feels like something's wrong. We both talked about it. She'll get to the bottom of it, and and find out what's wrong. If it's something here at school, it will be taken care of. I mean, it doesn't just stop with school.
And now Mrs. Katina is taking her own education beyond the school by studying to get her master's degree and Tier 1 administrative credential, something her students say has taught them firsthand the importance of following your dreams and being a lifelong learner. But future Columbia students don't need to worry. Mrs. Katina doesn't have plans to give up her classroom for an administrator's office just yet.
But honestly, I love my job so much. I'm not really looking for a change. It was more of a personal growth. Although the more I attend the classes, the more I can see that being an administrator would be, instead of having my kids and feeling so connected, it would be a school. And that'd be pretty cool to affect great change at an entire site, not just your four walls.
No matter what the future holds, either inside or outside of the classroom for Mrs. Katina, one thing that cannot be denied is that her influence and positive energy has already reached beyond those four walls of her room. I wonder if she'll teach me that song she was singing with her students about the brain. You know what, on second thought, I'm just going to stick to hosting and leave the singing to Mrs. Katina. Now, we're going to follow the yellow brick road up the Skyway to Paradise to meet Wizard of Oz obsessed English teacher, Mrs. Partain. Virginia Partain has been teaching teenagers for more than 20 years, and she is convinced it's the best job a person could hope for.
I've been teaching for 22 years, and it's the best job in the universe. It is. And I think if people knew how amazing it was to teach high schoolers, people would be knocking at the door trying to take my job. But people always say to me, they say, "Oh, you poor thing," or, "Oh, how do you do that?" And I always think, how could I not do it? Every day I get to explore creativity, excitement, imagination. I get to see the world as the incredible, hopeful future we have because of the kind of people who are coming into the world. I get to send them off into the world to take this beauty and creativity and love out into the world, and they do, they have it.
If her students have it, it's because they learned it from their enthusiastic teacher who strives to teach them more than writing and grammar.
At a high school, you have a pool of so many different people, and you never know what you're gonna get. So having a teacher that can appeal to all different kind of people and be able to be so accepting to different people, and that makes you want to learn if you have a teacher that cares about you no matter what your background is. So she's caring in that way.
Virginia Partain is one of those teachers that no student will ever forget. Once you've been in Virginia's class, it will be indelibly marked on your memory forever. And students come back year after year after year to step into Mrs. Partain's classroom and give her a hug.
In the classroom, Mrs. Partain takes the love she has for her students to help them find their voice and learn to write without fear.
And I love the kids, and every one of them has such an amazing, unique story. And so for me, it's finding that story and getting them to be able to speak that story, write that story, somehow bring it out from inside. And I want to give them a safe place to be. And in my creative writing class, the first thing we do is we fire your editor. We say, get rid of your editor because you need to be able to write from a place of no fear. And so we fire our editors, and then every so often you'll hear a kid go, "Oh, I don't know, it's not that good." And we always go, "Fire your editor." And so that they're not afraid. It's getting over that fear, because I think a lot of people have so much fear about writing and reading and speaking. "Oh, I'm not good at that." And in the growth mindset, if we passionately practice whatever we're doing, we can become good at it. So that's my idea, is to give them passionate practice so that they can be good at whatever they do. So that's what I try and do every day in my classroom, is create that passionate practice and that joy.
That's what makes it
because she's not someone who is just gonna have you sit there and read articles once but she's gonna go over them 100 times, even when you don't want to, but she's gonna make sure that you are able to understand it yourself and be able to tell it to others. So I think that's very important.
Mrs. Partain was nominated for the Big Education event by a school administration that is both impressed and thankful for the countless hours she devotes to her students each week.
I think, I think Virginia is a teacher 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So whether or not she's actually on campus, and she is on campus a great deal of the time, but whether or not she's on campus, she's still thinking about her students, and she's thinking about teaching, and she's thinking about projects that she can do with kids. So that's just who she is and the way that she lives.
I'm here at the crack of dawn till late evening. It's my life. It's what I love to do. It's what I'm about. And I believe that's what teaching asks of us, is to give our heart and soul. It really does. I believe that if you're going to be a teacher that makes an impact, you have to be willing to give your heart and soul to the kids, because then they give their heart and soul to what you're asking them to do. And then that's how they grow, their minds expand.
I love that tie-dyed shirt. I heard that she and her students came in on a Saturday and each made one. I wonder how I could get in on that action. Okay, so are you ready for our last stop? It's the Hayfork Technology Academy, led by teacher Emily Harrison. Students at Hayfork Elementary School's Technology Academy are using mechanical engineering to solve the mystery of how to make a humdinger. The Technology Academy was the brainchild of teacher Emily Harrison, who was looking for a way to set her students on a path of success that will extend way beyond her classroom.
So I wanted our students, when they grow up, to be able to have a good life here in Hayfork, and that requires them to have a job. So really the idea behind the Hayfork Technology Academy was job creation. And now that we have internet, we have cell phones out here, and so they're going to be able to create their own jobs. They're going to be able to do app development, web design. We have 3D printing. Technology is where we are. It's where we're going to be. And so it's really all about job creation for our kids, for our community, and for our families.
Emily Harrison is an innovator teacher. By that I mean not just a good teacher who does what is expected of her, but a teacher who thought outside of the box, in this case, came up with a whole new program and saw it to, from her initial thought all the way to making it work. And those people are rare.
The official curriculum may be math, science, and technology, but another lesson has found its way into the classroom as well: confidence.
I have definitely noticed a difference in their confidence level since we've started the Technology Academy, because in the beginning they really didn't want to be wrong at anything. They wanted to know how to do something, get the correct answer or get the correct solution, and be able to show that, and they just really didn't want to fail. But now through our activities and through the different things that we've been doing, they feel okay to try something, even if they think that, hey, I might not be the best at this in the beginning, and then I'm going to try it again, and I'm going to get better and better at it. The technology has really allowed them to try, fail, and then experience success.
I think our students aren't really that different from students in other places, in that most students these days are kinesthetic learners. They learn by doing with their hands. And so to watch them, I think the most interesting thing from my point of view is watching them take the different things that are normal that we would teach them, their English and their math and their science or whatever, and pull the parts of that out to make something and make it work. And they have that whole, I have a finished project kind of good feeling. which, you know, we don't often get that all the time. We don't see the whole end product, so it's neat for them to be able to do that.
Since we've started this Technology Academy, the students are more engaged. They work harder for me. They work longer. They're more excited about coming to school and finding out about what projects we're going to be doing today, and you know what's going to happen this afternoon. And it's always changing. It's just more exciting for them to be here and do their hands-on learning and hands-on projects, and just they're engaged in their learning, and they get to find out the information through discovery instead of just someone telling them the information.
Mrs. Harrison was nominated for the Big Education event by Mountain Valley School District Superintendent Debbie Miller, who attributes part of the Academy's success to the teachers' enthusiasm and passion.
Emily is young enough still that she has that youthful vitality that the kids really look at and say, yeah. And so when she suggests something, they're willing to try it, so she can bring in something new, and the kids are all willing to give it a go. And now they're just absolutely loving it. The feedback from kids and parents has been tremendous.
Thanks for traveling with me to all of these amazing classrooms. Each of the teachers featured tonight were nominated by a colleague during our open nomination window last fall, when our staff and board of directors worked diligently to contact each district in our viewing area concerning nominations. If you would like information on when you can nominate someone for next year's Big Education event, contact the station at 243-5493. I'm Jesse Angelo saying good night. And when you get the opportunity, thank a teacher.
Shasta College offers a complete college experience with a wide selection of classes, certificates, and degrees, affordable tuition, and financial aid. Dreams of a richer, more successful future realized at Shasta College.
I grew up watching shows like Sesame Street and Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, and I believe public education is a great tool. I love the Cookie Monster and Oscar the Grouch, and I believe it gave me a great foundation for my education. And now I enjoy shows like Antiques Roadshow and others. That's why I support the Big Education event.